Welcome to The Explainer. Plants do something that's basically magic. They make their own food pretty much out of thin air. Today, we're going to figure out how they pull that off.
All right, so let's start with a really simple question, something you've probably wondered about. You take a tiny, tiny seed, right? And it grows into this huge, massive tree. I mean, where does all that stuff, all that new wood and all those leaves, where does that mass actually come from?
Now, the most common idea, and it makes sense, is that plants kind of eat the soil, right? I mean, they're sitting in it, so they must be sucking up the dirt, and that dirt turns into the plant. Seems logical.
But here's the thing, that's not what happens at all. It's a total misconception. Scientists have done experiments where they weigh the soil before and after a plant grows, and guess what? The soil's weight barely changes. So, if it's not the dirt, where in the world is all that mass coming from? And that right there is the big mystery of a plant's food. If they're not eating soil, what are the real ingredients? Well, to solve this, we've got to look for some clues. And it turns out the answers are literally all around us.
Okay, so clue number one. Plants definitely absorb something from the ground through their roots. But it's not the dirt itself, it's water. Clue number two is the really wild one. This ingredient, it comes from the air. That's right, the air all around us. Plants are basically breathing in a gas called carbon dioxide. Yeah, the very same stuff we breathe out. And the final piece of the puzzle isn't even a thing you can hold or weigh. It's not matter, it's pure energy. It's what powers this whole operation, good old sunlight. So let's break that down, because this is super important. You've got your physical stuff, the matter, right? That's the water and the carbon dioxide. And then you have the energy source, the sunlight. The plant uses that sunlight energy to completely transform those inputs. And what comes out on the other side? Two totally new things. Sugar, which is the plant's food, and oxygen. Okay, so now that we have the ingredients, let's get into the recipe itself. This is the amazing chemical process that plants use to cook up their food. And honestly, it's the process that fuels pretty much our entire planet. What's crazy is that this whole thing happens on a scale you can't even see. It's not happening in the big roots or the stem, it's happening inside the leaves. And if we could zoom way in, deep inside the plant cells, we'd find these tiny little green structures called chloroplasts. You can think of them as the plant's own personal little kitchens. It's basically a four-step deal. First, the plant sucks in all its raw materials, the water and CO2. Then those little chloroplasts, they act like tiny solar panels, just soaking up the sun's energy. Step 3 is where the real magic happens. A chemical reaction uses that solar power to literally rip apart the water and carbon dioxide molecules. And finally, step 4, it puts all those broken up atoms back together in a new way to create sugar, which is its food, and oxygen, which is just a leftover. And this whole brilliant process, it has a name you've definitely heard before, probably in a science class somewhere. Photosynthesis. And the name makes perfect sense. It literally just means to make something using light. This is the absolute foundation for how plants get the energy they need to live and grow. Okay, so that's how it works. But the really big question is, why does any of this matter? Well, this is where this whole process connects directly to you and me and our survival. Let me ask you a question, a little thought experiment. Imagine you're in a perfectly sealed, airtight box. No air can get in or out. Could you survive in there if the only thing you had with you was a plant? Well, think about it. It's this perfect give and take. What do we breathe out? Carbon dioxide. And what does the plant need? Carbon dioxide. So our waste is the plant's key ingredient. And what does the plant release as its waste? Oxygen. And that is the one thing we absolutely need to breathe to stay alive. You see? It's this single, beautiful, life-sustaining cycle. What I get rid of, the plant uses. What the plant gets rid of, I use. So yeah, in theory, in that sealed container, the two of you could create your own tiny little ecosystem and keep each other alive. And this all leads to a really profound idea. Think about this for a second. Every single meal you have ever eaten, and every single breath you take, it all started with two things, the sun and a plant. That apple? Obvious. But that steak? Well, the cow ate grass, which got its energy from the sun. The oxygen in your lungs right now? It was put there by a plant. So really, the next time you just walk by a tree or see a simple leaf, just remember, you're not just looking at a plant. You are looking at the quiet, green engine that makes our entire world run.